Hello! Linux for Hope is hosting an online event consisting of panelists who will be able to advise individuals who would like to enter the tech industry. Here's one of our panelists sharing their journey in tech. If you would like to have your questions answered about how to join the tech industry, as well as learn more about the online event, please visit events.linuxforhope.org.
Hi, my name is Liam Gogley. I am 26 years old and currently a systems engineer. And this is my tech origin story. So the earliest influence I had with tech was my parents' computer, and it was from anywhere, probably as early as 2 to 3 years old, and following up to about 5 years old. I spent most of my time there. And soon after, following in about third grade is where my establishment for math and science really became apparent. Not necessarily an ability, but just in the general interest. And I think that's an important talking point for later. And following up from there, I went into a small robotics club in middle school with a pretty strong interest in both robotics and also space exploration. And following into that, I went into high school, where my uncle was a tremendous influence in my career, as he was currently in college, and he was going for a degree in E-Tech, which is like electrical engineering, but more practical and hands-on. And so at the time, he was helping me learn how to solder and put together little electronics kits. So I used a lot of websites such as Instructables.com and some of the Velleman. I might be butchering the name of that, but a company that provides soldering kits you can put together. So I would create little electronic view meters and simple alarm clocks and such that were really exciting for me to see put together for the first time. And so I just carried that interest through high school, and by the time I got to college, I knew pretty distinctly what I wanted to do, and I wanted to kind of create my net as wide as possible so that I had an ability to kind of work with hardware and software. And so I went to pursue a degree in computer engineering. And a long portion of that was a pretty strong interest in Linux as well, which is a free and open sourced operating system in partnership with the GNU userland. So technically the GNU Linux operating system. And that actually started when I was in high school, where I took my laptop I was supposed to use for school and I began tinkering with it, and I loaded it alongside Windows at the time and tried practicing some simple programming with C++ as my first language. And so with all those interests together, I completed my degree, and I during that time I also pushed very aggressively to get an internship. And this is where the point of not being great at math and science is important. I would say I had a pretty bad focusing issue throughout school, so studying was quite difficult for me. But I knew that my interest overwhelmed my potential drawbacks as far as my quality of studying, and I pursued very heavily with my passion, and eventually found a great opportunity, which was granted to me by my old boss, who is still in close contact with me, and I've stuck with it ever since, because I have a serious passion for learning very many things that I do not know, and understanding, trying to capture and entangle the various concepts that I do not know. So I've always enjoyed the pursuit of the unknown and the pursuit of knowledge. So that's been a big push for keeping me in tech. And I think that the other benefits are is a pretty decent pay. It shouldn't be the primary focus. I think the number one focus in this industry should always be to pursue what your interests are, and the money will come later. And that's pretty much the majority of what I could share as far as my initial experience. To follow up on my tech origin story, there's a couple of things that I've done to get here. And most important, the overarching theme has always been a pursuit of what I love, and that is it's always an interest in making things do just making technology or electronics or really anything, software, computers, anything, any combination of anything, doing something that it was not originally intended to do, or using a combination of parts that all have independent possibilities to create one end goal or end project that allows me to accomplish a task in my life. And sometimes it's just for the sake of doing it, out of the pure interest and pursuit of learning. So a few things that I'd like to share are, especially if you're just starting and you might be going for an internship, your GPA is important to get your foot in the door. But if you talk to the right people and you're willing to put a little extra effort in, your enthusiasm alone will get you much further than anything that the college will be able to provide. I can express at least two different instances for myself, which is an anecdote that I can at least sign off for myself, and one that's a third-party story that relates to somebody I know I at least know dearly, and his son's journey in the tech industry. So I'll start with myself. One is my internship came at the same time I hit a 2.0 for the first time in my college career. And I was juggling way too much with a job and trying to be in class, and a lot of these things were starting to collide, and I had to figure out what was going to give. So I had given up the job at the time and decided to pursue trying to recover that academic deficit. Unfortunately, this was my third semester, so my GPA took a plunge pretty quick, and I needed to find a way to get an internship as soon as possible, because that window of time, from the way that I perceived it, was quite narrow, as I only had the opportunity to be an intern while I was in college, so I wanted to get as much experience as I possibly could before I got in the industry. So shortly after, I went and applied at plenty of places, and to bolster that, I decided to put on a nice suit and go to various places down in my neighborhood that I had known were tech industries. And fortunately, one of them had a very enthusiastic human resources individual who decided to forward my resume up to who was soon to be my manager. And I interviewed. He and I were fortunate enough to be the two people communicating at the time, as he did not care about GPA, as he did not have a great GPA graduating out of college. But fortunately, between the two of us, realized that we were mutually extremely passionate about silly things like GNU Linux and various file servers hosted at home, and had a lot of the same side projects going. And through him, I was able to land my first internship. And ever since that day forward, I have driven my entire career path just purely out of passion and of serious interest. And it's easy to look good on paper, but it's very hard to fake it in person. So if you are truly interested in a career in tech, you will find success. You just have to continue pushing. You have to move forward. You have to be willing to show that passion. You have to be able to share what that means outside of that paper you put together. And that's what will set you apart from everybody else in this industry. And there will be plenty of people competing for jobs. And if it's only a piece of paper you're seeing, you're not getting the full picture. So it was a unique experience for myself to be able to get into that position. But where I'll relate to this on the other side is my same boss from that job had a son who never finished college, and his ability to get into the tech industry was strictly through passion and interest. And from that, he was able to establish a job at Microsoft. And through that, it was exclusively through private projects, working on the side, potentially even going out and putting yourself out there as a contractor if you know you have the ability to do something. Getting your foot in the door is the most important part. So if it means that picking up a simpler skill set that you can acquire that does not require a college education, or you're currently in school and you have an opportunity to volunteer for something, do not worry about the money first. The most important thing is to network, get as many people as you possibly can who can make a difference for your career to get to know you. And if you have that ability and you speak with enough people, an opportunity will come out of it. There's no question about it. It might be years, it might be months, it might be even days or weeks for how how extreme it goes from how long and how short. But the bottom line is you have to, if you're passionate about it and you're willing to talk with people, you will find your way and you will find your opportunity in the door. I will share that every opportunity that you have will be a little bit unique, and you may find that there are a couple of hurdles. Some of the most difficult parts of getting into the industry are trying to keep that confidence and that understanding that you will get through it and you'll find your place. It's going to be incredibly intimidating to go in and have either rejections or not hearing anything back from an employer, potential employer. It will be incredibly difficult when you get in for the first time. Those are the two most important things you have to do, though, is getting your foot in the door is one of the longest feeling processes you'll ever experience. And the second following that is getting out of that new guy zone, not knowing what to do or trying to find your place in that company. But all I can say is that these are unique experiences that you will never get this time back. So it's really important to relish it and to really hold as much of it as you can to memory, and really cherish those moments, because you will be able to look back on this at some point and realize, count this as a core part of your journey. So when you get on board and you actually do finally hit your opportunity, recognize that it is your one opportunity to be able to make mistakes and to not be perfect. And it's okay. That's all okay. Everything is fine. Everybody expects people to make mistakes. And you may work with people who are difficult. You may work with people who have different opinions. You may work with people who are just overall challenging. But the bottom line, the most important thing is realize that social skills are one of the most important parts of engineering. Writing is important, technical skills are important, but nothing beats communication. If you cannot communicate with a team, and you cannot lead a team, or you cannot be a part of a team, you cannot be an effective engineer, you cannot be an effective software engineer, you cannot be effective if you're ever working in a team. If you're a web developer, you need to be able to understand how to work with a customer, or if you're an engineer, you have to learn how to work with customers. So regardless, social skills are extremely important, and being able to be patient and being able to work with people is an extremely important thing as well.